In this video, I'm going to try and show you some tips and tricks for changing the strings on your guitar. Before you change the strings on your guitar, it's a great time to clean the neck off, lube the changer, lube the rollers if it's needed. If you need to know how to do that, maybe I'll get around to making a video on that, or give me a call. It's super easy to do. Okay, for changing the strings, what you're going to need is a ball driver. Came with your guitars. It is a 9/64, so you can use a regular Allen wrench. You don't want to use your tuning wrench. It's the same size as your tuning wrench, but the tuning wrench doesn't give you enough torque with your fingertips to get the screw secure, the string securing screws tight enough. You're also going to need some pliers. Little square nose pliers are my favorite. You can use needle nose, whatever, but I like these. They're very small, compact, easy to handle, and I soften the edges with a little diamond file to make it less likely that the edges will cut the string as I pull it and stretch it and whatnot. Okay, on to string changing. We're going to start with the third string. Third string on E9 tuning is a very high tension string, and it is the peskiest to load on most keyless systems. Remember, the helper springs on your changer are pulling those fingers back. So when you pull the string to tighten it, you've got to overcome that tension that the helper spring is helping. Okay, make sure your tuner is up as far as it can go. Make sure you have just enough room under the screw head to get the string under there. You don't need any more, otherwise you're just taking extra time to try and twist this while you're holding tension, and it makes it a pain in the butt. Fish your string through the tuner. You want to, with just some hand tension on the string, take your wrench and lower the tuner until you see just a little bit of downward angle from the roller down to the tuner. That means you're ready to tune. Take the wrench out, grab the string with your pliers, and you're pulling tight. Remember, you've got to get that finger down there to come up in its static position. Hear that go up? I pull it up, I wrap it around the head of the screw, and I tighten it. And we tighten it up to a G sharp. And there we are. Takes a fair bit of tension, but if you do it correctly and use the top of your guitar as leverage, it's really not that big of a deal, and you'll get used to it. Okay, we're going to change the sixth string now. It's a 20 plain gauge in this case. Whoop, I had it there. Pop it up through this changer finger. Pull it up into place. Make sure the ball is seated into the finger. Take your 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Take your ball driver, get that tuner up there. It's best to have the other tuners down so you have places to work, so you have room around the tuner to work. And make sure you've just got enough to grip the string, room under the head so you don't have to twiddle with it. And you put the string through, and I'm going to show you that it takes a lot less tension on these bigger strings than it does on those thin little strings. So I'm just pulling that so I have this straight line so I can see here, and I want to make sure I get that angle. It's called a break angle, from the roller down to the tuner, down. You got to visibly see that it's going down. Doesn't need to be much. Go ahead and pull it tight. And it comes up to tension pretty easy. I'm hoping that I've done it too tight so I can show you a way to manipulate where your tuner ends up if you need to. Okay, so I've got it up to tension, close enough. It's an octave of this. Doesn't have to be exact, but you can see how much higher the tuner is. That's because it took so much less tension, and I wasn't tensioning it as much as I did this anyway. So if that is offensive to you, it is to me to have the tuners all wacky, but it really doesn't matter if they are. But if you want to have this tuner further down, you just hold this string tight, loosen it, and you'll be able to just keep going until it gets level with all the other tuners if you want to do that. If the tuner goes too low and you want the tuner up higher because you want to match the heights because it looks cool, then you do the opposite. You undo it, pull the string tighter than you did, and start over. Anyway, that's a middle string. We're going to do a bass string because they're a little bit different yet. Okay, the bass strings need even less tension. In fact, it's hard for me to, I've never gotten the feel for how little tension they actually need. But once again, bring the tuner all the way up. Keep in mind, this is all somewhat adjustable once the string's in if you want the tuner lower or higher. Get that break angle on the bass strings. It can be pretty noticeable there. And you don't even really need the pliers. Make sure you've got the right amount of gap there. Looks good. And you can just pull the string up. Make sure it's over this shoulder, not down to the side of the tuner and coming to the screw. Make sure it's on the shoulder, pull it tight. Now you notice I just did that with my hand, and we'll see. You'll probably come up to tension just fine. One more little tip for you 12-string guys, or anybody that has any strings that are 50 or bigger, 50 thousandths or bigger. I make the tuner in such a way that you don't wrap the string around here, because that gets really hard to do on universals because the strings are so big. Rather than wrapping the string, we just pull it through the tuner, and the screw is long enough to just pinch the string in there. You don't even do the wrap, but that's only on the very thickest of strings. On universals, it's usually the last two strings. On extended E9s, it's usually just the last string. Remember, wear eye protection because strings break and they can tweak you in the eye for sure. Have your tools on hand. Shaken Tri-Flow if you want to oil your rollers and stuff. Clean your guitar, change your strings, now go play. Lastly, after you're all done, you've got these string ends hanging off, tails as I call them. Rather than cutting them with pliers, grab them, or cutting them with diagonal cutters, grab them with your pliers, bend it against the head of the bolt here, back and forth, and they just break right off, and breaks off clean, so you're not going to get skewered by those the little string ends that are so famous for hurting us guitar guys. So you just break them off like that. When you get to the wound strings, it's a little bit different because they break in two parts. First you'll get, well, that one broke together. I'll get one that hopefully will break in two parts. Usually the core breaks first, and then the winding breaks. See, there you go. That's the core that broke. Then you grab the winding and break it off. They break really easy, and sometimes it breaks elsewhere than right at the head, but just keep working it and get it right there at the head, and it comes right off. There you go. Break your strings off, don't cut them off. On you guys with the big thick strings that are pushed straight through the tuner, you can't do this trick, so you get your diagonal cutters in there as close as possible. These are big ones. And cut it off, and hopefully you don't get nabbed by that by the big string end. Just don't put your finger there.